have a number of special guests today. We have our one and only Toni Lamond and Michael Tyack, who is going to accompany us for some musical entertainment. Toni and Michael have a combined experience of over 100 years in the musical industry. Michael is a musical director and is currently working on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory here in Sydney. And Toni has 70 years of Broadway experience and TV experience, and is also happens to be the sister of Helen Reddy. Those of you with a bit of age, woman, hear me roar, will remember that very famous song.
Oh, give me land, lots of land on the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please, don't fence me in. Bunch of dandelions stuck in a jam jar. But folks, don't be depressed. Let's be happy, let's be gay. Though your number may be up today, what does it matter who goes first? Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. You've all got one foot in the grave. Soon you're gonna have both feet. But until you are gone, keep hiking along on the sunny side of the street. I've just come from a lovely funeral. It was a double header. Auntie Aggie and Uncle Clary. Oh, they led a cat and dog life. When we buried them together this morning, it was the first time they'd been out together in 40 years. Uncle Clary went first. He was out on a fishing trip and he fell overboard and drowned. When they hauled him up, he was covered in prawns. We wired Auntie Aggie as to what we should do. She wired back, sell prawns, send money, reset bait. So, until you are gone, keep hiking along. I'm not spoiling anybody's morning, am I? On the sunny side of the street. Though her face was red, she said, pennies from heaven. He said, I've asked the neighbours all over town. They say they don't remember him coming down. Though from whence or where he came, nobody bothers. But from what I've heard of kids, they must have fathers. And every time I take a look at his face, I can see that Benny's from heaven and not from me. So I had a nanny and lived in Campsie 75 9th Avenue, Campsie, I lived. But unfortunately, my father fell in love with the third gorgeous chorus girl from the right. Mum and Dad got divorced when I was 7. But Stella moved to Melbourne and she met another comedian. And his name was Max Reddy. And I flew to Melbourne when I was 7 to join them. And I became, he said, I'm not bringing up a little girl, I'm adopting her, but I'm not bringing up a little girl with his name. So I was Toni Reddy. Now I was Toni Lamond Reddy, but I was Toni Reddy. And when I was 10, Max and Stella had become big radio stars on radio station 3XY. And there were big shows coming from the Princess Theatre, which was in the same, 3XY was in the Princess Theatre building. And they told the producer that our little girl, Toni, she can sing. Oh, well, we'll have her on. Now, at that time, Shirley Temple was the role model for little girls. And I thought, oh God, I can get my hair curled, because I had very straight hair, and little bum freezer frocks, you know. But Stella said, no, you're wearing your school uniform. I said, what? You're wearing your school uniform with the tunic and the blazer and the tie, shirt and tie, and the socks up underneath the knees, and the brown shoes. And I said, well, can I have my hair curled? No, it's going to be straight, and you're going to have the bobby pin in the side. So comes the night, and the compere goes on and says, well, Max and Stella have got their little girl. She sings, and the audience, oh, that's interesting, because Max and Stella were very popular. And he said, and here she is, Toni Reddy. And they went, oh, lovely, and they started to applaud, and the applause stopped because this sullen little girl walked on, furious that I was in this, dressed like this. Anyway, I started singing, and I sang my number, which was Swanee River at the time. Way down upon the Swanee River, far, far up. Then I got to the second chorus, and I was a jazz singer. And I started snapping my fingers and rolling my eyes and swiveling my hips, and way down upon the Swanee River, far, far away. Well, I got a standing ovation. I never argued with Stella again. She knew what she was about. All the other little girls were wearing Shirley Temple things, but I took them by surprise. Then a bit later, I was allowed to take my mother's name, Toni Lamond, and I got into show business, and I worked in theatre and in television, and I worked overseas. I worked in England, in Scotland. I toured South Africa with a show, and then I went to the Philippines. I met my husband and married him. We went to the Philippines with our double act. I said, we're going to have a double act, because when my mother and father worked separately, we're not going to. They got divorced. We're not going to do that. And anyway, I was very lucky, because I got to work in America, and I did some work in Hollywood, and you know, as the years went on, I came to some different conclusions. Afraid I've got to hold this. This day and age we're living in gives cause for apprehension, with speed and new invention and things like third dimension, that we grow a little weary of Mr. Einstein's theory, that we must pause a little, relax, relieve the tension, no matter what the project or what may yet be proved. The simple facts of life are such, they cannot be removed. You must remember this. A kiss is still a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by. You know, as time goes by, I realise that I've got to start thinking about ageing. I don't want to, but I'm going to have to. 3 things happen as you get older. 1, memory loss. Can't remember what the other 2 are. And when 2 lovers woo, they still say, I love you. On that you can rely. No matter what the future brings. You know you're getting older when you've got a choice of going out on 2 dates. And you pick the one that gets you home earlier. As time goes by. Like love songs never out of date. You know you've got old when your children start to look middle-aged. Hearts full of passion, jealousy and hate, and you find yourself thinking a lot about the hereafter. You go into the kitchen, you open the fridge door and you say, now what am I hereafter? Woman needs man, and man must have his mate, that no one can deny. No one can deny. You know you've really got old when getting lucky means you found your car in the car park. It's still the same old story, a fight for love and glory. And you know you've really got old when you wake up with a hangover and you didn't do anything the night before. A case of do or die. The world will always welcome lovers. This old guy had to go to a urologist. He had a bladder problem. And the urologist handed him a jar and he said, you go into this room. I'm going to want a urine specimen. So the old gentleman went in and they closed the door. He was in there an hour. Finally he came out. He said, well, I've squeezed it. I've twisted it. I've even tried banging it up and down a couple of times on the edge of the sink. I still can't get this bloody lid off. As time goes by. Placement. I've had several spinals and I've got some more metal still in my spine. I've got so much metal in me, I'm thinking of offering myself to Bunnings Warehouse as a television spokeswoman. I get all my metal from Bunnings Warehouse. And I haven't got a screw loose. But, you know, I'm very, very lucky. When my husband and I, we got a job, first job with our double act, we got a job in the Philippines. So I was 22 years old, 23, something like that. And we had to go and look at an atlas to see where the Philippines was. We didn't know where it was. We were there for 6 months and we learned a lot with our double act because we had to change weekly. And on the boat on the way back, I was a couple of days more seasick than anybody else was. And a lady said to me, I don't think you're seasick anymore, I think you're pregnant. What? Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you the beautiful Toni Sheldon, the light of my life, my son. He inherited Stella's genes. He looks like, we both look like Stella did. And he sings and dances and writes, and I'm so proud of him. And he did a show, that they made a film of called Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And it became so popular that they decided in the early 70s that no, it was later on, the early 70s they made the film, and they decided to change it over to the theatre. And Toni helped them, because Tony's a good comedy writer, and he was offered the part of Bernadette, the transsexual, and he turned it down. Oh no, I don't want to wear a frock. No, I'll get typecast. No, what? Oh no. But no other work was coming in, and the money was getting short. And he finally said, they were down at the Lyric Theatre at the Star Casino. It was 2006. And he said, oh, well, yeah, all right. How long can it last? 6.5 years and 5 countries later, he finished up on Broadway, where he'd waited 40 years. He played Bernadette he played it in London. He was nominated for an Olivia Award. He played it on Broadway. He was nominated for a Tony Award. And he's just done the 10th anniversary tour of Priscilla here in Australia. And right now, as we speak, he's downtown rehearsing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which goes into the capital. So the beat goes on. I've been very fortunate to get the most brilliant accompanist and musical director, and I've worked with him before, Mr. Michael Tyack, ladies and gentlemen. And I'd like to close with an arrangement of the song that began my career. Ever since the world began, rivers ran, feeding from the heavens rain, crossed the mountain, down the plain, rivers ran. Not very far from where you were born, there is a river or creek, and there is a child or grown up we find the comfort our souls sometimes seek. Way down upon the Swanee River, far, far away, there's where my heart is turning ever, there's where the old folks stay. Up and down the whole creation, sadly I roam, still longing for that old plantation and for the old folks at home. Sad and dreary everywhere I roam. Oh, darling, how my heart grows weary, far from the old folks at home. Sing a song about a river, and you can't go wrong. Sing a song about a river, and you've got a song. There's Old Man River and up a lazy river, and river stay away from my door. There's Moon River, Deep River, Old Father Thames River. Maybe you can think of some more. When my heart yearns, my memory returns to the one that flowed by my door. Oh, world is sad and dreary. Everywhere I roam, far from home, I'm still longing for that old plantation and for the old folks at home. No matter where I roam, my thoughts keep turning home, way down upon that Swanee shore. Thank you. My Tyack. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Could I have my water, please? I spotted the story, Richie, the famous Cindy Pastel Fabulous, and that is Richie's story. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Take a bow, Richie. Thank you. It's been so thrilling. I thought that I was forgotten and nobody had asked me to sing for the last 2.5 years, and I cannot tell you how emotionally it has lifted me to come here today and sing to you. God bless you. Thank you, darlings. Thank you. And you have a great year ahead. Thank you. He's got to go back to his rehearsal. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
One more.
Are you going to be able to get that down upstairs?